All right, good evening. Welcome to our Marriage Enrichment Seminar. We have a few new faces in the crowd, so welcome. Those of you, I think I met everybody here so far, those of you who are not members, so we welcome you and glad to have you with us. Before we get started, if you wanted to, there's no actual handout for this evening, but if you want to take any notes, there are pens and paper in the back, and we will get a handout coming up later on that before you leave, so there will be some stuff to take home with you. Let's begin. Let's get started with a prayer. Gracious Lord, we thank you for being with us this evening as we gather around your word. We thank you for giving us the opportunity to take a look at the blessings that you have given us in marriage. Help us to use the gifts that you have given us so that we can excel in our marriages as we treat husbands and wives the way they should be treated. We ask you to be with us as we appreciate the person that you have brought into our lives to be our spouse so that we can cherish them as that precious gift that you have given. We ask this in your Son's name, Jesus. Amen. All right, let's get started. First, this will be a little bit difficult. You might have to do a little bit of moving around a little bit just to begin with, and then you can come settle back in your place. And if you happen to have come with family other than your spouse, we'll ask you to talk to somebody else for this one because they probably already know the story. I would like you to take just 2 minutes, share with the couple in your row the story of how you met your significant other. So find somebody close by within your row or across the way to share that story, and if you're family, you'll have to share with other people too.
Is that right?
If you have to go forward to find people, that would work too.
I guess like
Welcome. That's all right. We'll buy that.
that was May, right? All I remember is a ton of snow down White Avenue. You got all the nice palm trees, and then you got the back views in the background. They were just blanket in the morning, so I just didn't bring so we're going to take this.
That's what he said, so you didn't hit him on the side of the head.
Well, she didn't sing at her wedding.
Oh, after a month, we quit.
Another 30 seconds.
Well, I get you.
All right, anybody got an interesting one? Either you yourself think your story is interesting, or somebody you talk to want to volunteer the people that you talk to and say, they got an interesting story. Somebody got one? Anybody have an interesting story of how you met your significant other?
Blind date.
Blind date. Everything love at first sight? Not so? No? At least not for her.
He was so nervous.
Go ahead, John.
I went over to have dinner with actually Mary and told her I was going to marry her that night.
Oh.
Egomaniac.
And you didn't run away.
It took 3 years to convince me.
Go ahead.
I was dating her best friend, kind of.
To get to her? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. Any other ones? Go ahead.
I met my wife Erica in Florida. I'm from Arizona. She's from Ohio. And we were driving down the road. I kind of cut her off to make her go into a parking lot and then asked her for her phone number.
Lucky you didn't get called for stalking, but kudos.
When you cut her off, was she saying you were number one? Or?
So your bold move paid off. Good. Where is the first time that you hear about marriage? Or when was the first time you heard about marriage? In history, when is the first time you see marriage? Yeah, you go back to Genesis 1 and 2, you think of Adam and Eve. And think about Genesis chapter 2, verses 18 to 25, and recall what happens, if you know your Bible history, what happened right before God brought Eve to Adam? Remember what was going on? Okay, he wanted a helpmate for her. Named all the animals. Remember, Adam was created, and then God brought all the animals in front of him to see what he would name him and what was going on. There's the lions, and there's the boy lion, the girl lion. There's the tigers, there's the boy tiger, the girl tiger. There's the monkeys, the boy monkey, the girl monkey. And there's Adam. And there's nothing there. And so God says, I'm going to make a helper suitable for him. We'll talk about that passage in just a few minutes. But you think of men and women, why are they so different? Why are men and women so different?
Women have to balance out the men.
Men are bitter and sour, and the women sweeten us up a little bit. Rita said they complement one another. Yeah. Something else, Linda, or already said? Men and women are to be a complement to one another. It's not as though God made identical duplicates of one another, that man and woman are identical in every same way, because physically we know that's not the case. But also, your wiring is also not the same. If you think of a husband going to his closet Sunday morning, and he looks in his closet and he says, I've got nothing to wear. What's he mean by that?
Your wife hasn't done the laundry?
My wife hasn't. He hasn't what? She hasn't picked his clothes out yet to make sure he's presentable. Go ahead.
If he says there's nothing to wear, there's literally nothing in his closet.
Because where is it at? It's in the dirty laundry. What about when a woman says that? A woman walks in the closet and says, my walk-in closet, there's nothing, I got nothing to wear.
Not happy with what there is, the choices there is.
Okay, so she's not happy with what there is. It's the same choices from last week. Things haven't changed. What else is she meaning by? Shouldn't have had that extra piece of pie before dinner last night, or before and after dinner last night. What else? It's the exact same wording. The guy says there's nothing to wear because all the clothes are in the laundry. The woman says there's nothing to wear because I don't like the way they fit right now. I don't have anything new to wear. Leah said it's the same old stuff over and over again. Or if you think of a husband and wife, you're on your anniversary and you're going to go out to dinner, start driving, and the husband says, well, where do you want to go for dinner? And the wife, Chick-fil-A. And she says, I don't know, you pick. And he said, well, how about we try that new steak place down in Temecula? I don't like that, I don't want to go there. What's he thinking at that time?
Why didn't you just say where you want to go?
Why don't you tell me the right answer then? What's she thinking when he's asking her that question?
You should know.
You should know why.
Because it's your anniversary, you should have a pre-plan.
You should have put a little bit more thought and effort into it than to ask me where we should go. And there's that expectation. And so husbands and wives look at things differently, but that's the way God made us. God made us to be wired differently. God made us to think of things different, and that is something that's to be celebrated. Take a look at the picture up top. as you look at that picture, first of all, who do you think came up with that, man or a woman? A man. What do you suppose that's trying to express?
Women are more complicated than men.
Yeah, that at least on some levels, at least on their wiring, the way they think of things, men are pretty simplistic with one switch, and women, it's a whole complicated mess to try and figure out. As we continue this evening, take a look at the next slide. There was an author who wrote a book called Men Are Like Waffles, Women Are Like Spaghetti. You might know the other one, men are from Mars, women are from Venus. Same sort of concept with this one. What do you suppose he means by this, though? Men are like waffles. What does he mean by that?
Well, waffles normally are in a pattern. There's a form that they are, and they are in, either it's a circle with the crosses in it, or it's a square with the crosses in it, but it's that set form.
Okay.
Spaghetti can just be a mess all over the place.
Okay. Think of the waffles and not only the set form, but the set boxes. For men, they're programmed to think of, okay, this situation belongs in this box, I can deal with it in that situation. This situation belongs in this box, and I'll deal with it in that way. Women, it says, like spaghetti, you dig your fork into spaghetti and you pull it up, and what happens? What comes up? A whole mess of stuff, meatballs and sauce and noodles, and everything's all over the place. Everything is sort of intertwined and connected. If you think of husband and wife are going to paint the kitchen, and they've set aside the day, they're going to do this, and they're talking about, okay, what are we going to paint this? And they're talking color scheme, and are we going to paint a buttercream, are we going to paint it adobe? And the husband's thinking, okay, we got to get the paint color, got to get the utensils, and we have to, cover everything. And all of a sudden, his wife says, why don't you love our family? You're going, I'm sorry, we're talking paint samples here and we're talking paint color. Why is your job more important to you than me? And I'm still talking paint samples, I'm talking paint color. Where is this coming from? And yet you have that whole, you stick the fork in, a whole mess of things come up because things are interconnected and intertwined, and we're talking paint, we're talking painting, and we're not talking about our relationship with one another, and yet where's this all coming from? And so, as you think of the different ways that husbands and wives think, who's right? Yes, both. Because that's the way God designed men and women to think. That's the way God wired men and women to think. And that's meant to be a blessing. Both are right, but that's the way God made you. Let's think back to Genesis 1 and 2. And as you think God got done creating everything, He created all the animals, and now He's going to create man as the crown of His creation. And He says, there's something missing yet. Genesis 2:18. The Lord God said, it's not good for man to be alone. I will make a helper suitable for him. What does that word helper mean? I will make him a helper suitable for him. Go ahead, Court. Okay. Anybody else? Or maybe you think about it. Take a look at this passage here from Psalm 33. We wait in hope for the Lord. He is our help and our shield. The same word in Hebrew that you have here for the Lord is our help and our shield as the word for helper. So what does it mean in that context? You said it was a compliment to compliment the husband in the passage before. What do you suppose it means here? Okay. Anybody else? Go ahead.
I don't know if it's the right word, but to fulfill.
Okay, that the Lord is here to fulfill us. What can't it mean? If the Lord is our help. he can't be our servant. He can't be the one that we lord over. And so those of you who have looked at Hebrew poetry before, especially when you think of the Psalms, remember there's often a parallel in the other part of the passage. We wait and hope for the Lord. He is our help and our shield. He is our hope. What is God's intention for you as you go about your life? How does he want to interact with you? Okay, he wants to make your life better. Now take that concept and go back to Genesis. What did God bring to Adam but a helper? Someone who, you said, would compliment him. Someone who would not say, good job, Adam, way to go. Something more than that. Somebody who would be making his life better, would fulfill him, would make his life complete. Take a look at, we got a question here. What are some of the things where you see the blessings of your spouse being very different than you? So when you look at your significant other and you say, I recognize that we are different from one another, what blessings do you see there? Your spouse being different from you, what do you see as a blessing? Go ahead.
He doesn't mind making the insurance policy.
Okay. Okay. So are you meaning physically only, or are you thinking, okay, maybe emotionally stronger? Go ahead. Did you have a hand?
Yeah,
Go ahead. Okay. A wife tends to be, as a mother, tends to be a little bit more nurturing than her husband as a father. Go ahead.
She's my motivator. She keeps me going when I want to.
Okay. Any other ones? Go ahead.
She's organized.
If you are disorganized and she's organized, that's a fantastic thing. Go ahead.
When she keeps me down to earth, so I get this idea in my head that I want to, do everything one-man show, always doing it, rather than taking a step back and relax and sometimes saying, all right, let her chime in, we'll get back to earth,
Okay, keeps you grounded. I talked to my wife before this so that I got her permission to tell a few stories, but not too many. I kind of like Carla, I hate calling customer service. And it's one of those things where, hey, will you call about this to see why we had this charge? And so I get on the phone and, oh, they said it's because of this, and so they're charging us the extra $50. Well, that's how it is. They're going to charge us the extra $50. We can do nothing about it. She'll get on the phone. No, we're not paying that. Okay, you're right. We'll give you a credit of $100 and then we'll call it even. She has a way of making things work out nicely that way, and not so. She's tenacious when it comes to things when we're getting wrong that way or getting taken advantage of. And so, imagine for a moment if your spouse was exactly like you. Had the exact same personality as you. Now you start thinking for a moment, so, boy, I'd have somebody to go fishing with me all the time. That would be awesome. Somebody who doesn't mind taking in any sports event that I want to take in. What's the downside? If you're like him or he's like you. Okay. What else? What else is the issue there? I bore myself, so you sometimes wonder how does my spouse get excited to see me when I'm not excited to see me? But you think of, you have dominant traits now almost working against you. Your strengths become your weakness, as the person who is overly free with their money, and you're both that way. Oof, it's a life of debt. The person who's overly, tight with their money, and then, boy, we never do anything for excitement. And so you think of, if you had the exact same personality, the exact same wants, you'd never have a chance to be right, because you'd be a stalemate all the time. And so it's a good thing to have somebody who is going to is going to complement you, somebody who has strengths where you don't, and you have strengths where they don't. The problem that comes in is when you think of marriages and how different they are, there's a temptation to say, well, I want my spouse to think exactly the way I do. And after 30 years, shouldn't she start thinking the way I do? Well, what's the problem with that?
You're only getting one point of view, one vantage point from which to view a situation.
Okay, yeah. What else is the issue there? If she doesn't start seeing things my way, what else is the issue?
You don't see things her way.
I don't see things her way, and
You're not going to be able to change.
yeah, you're not going to be able to change. Think of how God designed you. God didn't design you to be exact replicas of one another. He designed you to complement one another. And if I say that, God, I don't have time for you to, I don't have time to work at this relationship in the way you designed, that's rather an arrogant statement. Agree or disagree? Husbands need wives just as, let me rephrase that. Husbands need love just as much as wives. Husbands need love just as much as wives. Agree or disagree?
Agree.
In a different way.
Well, now you're changing the wording. Husbands need love. I think everybody said agree. Would it floor you to know that you are all wrong? Unless you added that in a different way. We'll come back to that. I had a professor at the seminary who was able to make any wrong answer sound right, but I'm not going to attempt to make your disagree sound right. In fact, if you take a look at the slide up here. Ladies, to your husband, respect is more important than love. That sounds a little bit crazy to you as a lady, because you're going, well, what do I need? I need love, right? What does Hallmark tell you? You go to Hallmark cards, and what is the message of Hallmark?
Love.
It's all about love. Why?
Because the ladies are the ones that are buying the majority of
90% of the cards are being bought by ladies, and so of course you're going to peddle that message because the ladies are the ones buying those cards. And so even though Hallmark's telling you it's all about love, that's what your husband needs, he says, no, that's not quite the case. National study asks the question of guys, which would you choose? To be alone and unloved in the world, or to feel inadequate and disrespected by everyone? Which one do you suppose most people chose? Most men? Why? Yeah, and in fact it was overwhelming. It was 84% said, I would rather be alone and unloved than feeling inadequate and disrespected. And ladies, you're going, what? Because they need love. That's what I need, that's what they need, right? But what's the problem? You're wired different. You're looking at things through your female sunglasses as opposed to the way God made you. And so we're gonna try and adjust that a little bit. Now as you look at that, ladies, what insights can you draw from that? To say, all right, 84% of men said that they would rather be alone and unloved than feeling inadequate and disrespected. What are some insights you can draw from that? Okay.
And to make that they are adequate.
Okay. Yeah. What else do you, I'm going to spend a little time here, so go ahead.
They need to be appreciated.
They need to be appreciated. Okay. Go ahead, Jayla. Keep going with that. You're on the right trail. They want to be that provider, right? Okay.
They want to feel that what they're doing counts for something.
Okay. I spend all this time, 12 hours at work a day, and if I'm not feeling appreciated for what I've done, yeah, that's a hit to the respect department. Go ahead. You may. You may get booed by the ladies, but go ahead.
It just reminds me of stories about the Depression. A lot of the men, because they really felt embarrassed, not enough, they actually left and stayed. With tentative, because they probably, they felt they lost their respect and they didn't do the job.
Yeah. Yeah, especially at a time of economic trouble like that, and I'm not fulfilling my role as provider, and yeah, that's a hit to the ego. And it's not as though men have an inflated ego. Anything else any other insight that you would look at that? Go ahead, Kyle.
The way we can show them is respect.
Okay. Okay, and yeah, you think of, for example, if you think of the dad who tells his kids, I want you to take Saturday, I want you to clean the garage out, start in the morning, and I want you to have it done by noon. And how does he feel love? If it gets done, they respect him enough to do that, so they're listening to him, they're showing him respect, they're doing that. And he says, now I sense that I'm being loved because I'm being respected. If you want to completely give a shot to your husband's ego, if you want to completely destroy him, start griping to your girlfriends about how lousy your husband is and how he's done this and how he's not being adequate, how he's not doing something as a husband. And what's that going to do? Now it's not only she doesn't respect me, now she's telling everybody else in the world that she doesn't respect me, and that's a crushing blow. And men are a little bit more sensitive than we sometimes give them credit for. And not to pick on you, Deb, you said he's stronger emotionally, but you think of there is emotion there is sensitivity there. Go ahead.
And I think it's a great big trend in society today, in television shows and movies, to bash males. To say men are idiots, that they can't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a horrendous message to be sending to kids.
Mm-hmm.
Girls especially that are growing up, and to have this idea that that's what all they hear.
Mm-hmm.
In society, men are worthless.
This kind of a generic theme of all sitcoms.
Men are the husbands are the doofuses, aren't they? And he's insensitive. He only thinks of himself. He doesn't do anything right. He's the moron that the wife is the one who has to correct him all the time and doesn't respect him in the process. And now you talk about what a loud message that is to society, and there isn't that respect that's being given. When it comes to giving a man respect, if he feels respected, he can take a lot of abuse. But if he doesn't feel the respect, well, that's a crushing blow. So you might say respect is his love language. That's how you said that's how you show him love. It's by showing him respect. Now, do men need love? Absolutely. But it's kind of like if you think along the lines of you can go 30 days without food and 3 days without water. Well, where's the love and where's the respect in that equation? It's if I don't get the respect, that's my 3 days and then I'm crushed. That's obviously the one thing that's more important there. All right. Ladies, can you imagine for a moment if your husband would say to you, I think you're a good person, but I don't love you and I don't think I ever could love you. So let me read that one again. If your husband would say to you, I think you're a good person, but I don't love you and I don't think I could ever love you, how long do you think it would take you to get over that? Or how would that impact your marriage?
Pretty much ended after.
Pretty much ended? I didn't hear it over here.
What marriage?
What marriage?
Show him the door almost immediately.
Your bags are packed, they're on the porch, taxi's called, we'll see you later. Now, flip it on its head and you see when a husband now submit the different words where you have the wife saying, I don't respect you and I don't think I ever could respect you. It's the exact same sort of thing. It's the exact same blow. How long is it going to take him to get over that? And how long is that going to last? Any comments on... We'll have a timeout here for a sec. All right, take a look at the slide up here. Would you ever say, ladies, you are not the man I married. I expected a different life than this. I love you, but I don't respect you. Why can't you be more like so-and-so at work, so-and-so down the street, a husband like him? You know, again, what would that do? That's exactly what we're talking about with the failing to give respect. That is an absolutely crushing blow, the same way if you heard, I don't love you and I don't think I ever could love you. Take a look at what ladies need. What ladies need most, what they desire most, is love. Now, ladies, what does that mean for you that you want love? Because love's one of those terms that's so watered down and used from everything from I love you and I'm going to marry you to I love these potato chips and I can't wait to dig to the bottom of the bag. So, what do you want when you say, I want love? To be appreciated. Attention, okay? What else? Listen to. Anything else? Some romance would be nice. Not that greedy. A little romance. Light a candle once in a while. Anything else? Okay. Time, attention, listen to. Or maybe, what don't you want? Compliments would be another one. What don't you want?
Orders.
Okay. What else don't you want? Orders. Give me my marching orders. Do you want to be fixed? No, I want to be listened to. I don't want you to fix me. I want you to listen to me. And if you think of, from a man's perspective, we might say, well, I put a roof over your head. I provide for you. I'm faithful to you. I hold your hand every now and then. Maybe that's a little less romance than you're hoping for, but do we listen? Do we treasure? Do we take the time to give attention? And that's where we sometimes, as men, fall down. That oh yeah, this is how they want me to show love to them, is to let them know that they count, and their opinions count, and what they have to say is important. If you approach it from the standpoint, remember how we're wired. We're those waffles. Your wife comes up to you and says, I have this problem at work. And you say, well, this is what you do. You talk to this person and you get this done. And then you talk to this person, get that done. You talk this, and in no time you should have everything fixed. And what are you thinking, ladies? I didn't ask you to fix it. Go ahead, John.
And I can tell you I've learned here really recently that I start the conversation out with, do you want me to fix it or am I listening?
Good. Do you want my ears? Do you want me to listen? Or do you want me to actually give you suggestions? Because, ladies, what are you doing when you are telling your husband about this problem in your life? Venting. What else are you doing? Okay, so I want you to sympathize with me so that you know what I'm going through. Are you working it out yourself? I just need to talk it out, right? I don't need your input. I just need you to sit there, to listen, and I just need you to let me walk myself through it and let me get to that point where I find the resolution that I'm looking for, but you don't have to give any input. Yeah, it's a good thing to keep in mind. Do you want me to actually offer suggestions here, or do you want me to sit there and listen? Go ahead.
That sounds almost like a companion.
It-
Like, should have a companion there that listens to you. Because you feel better, right? You can talk to someone, you have something.
Mhm.
And it almost sounds like maybe God should make women first. But I'm not.
Remember all those switches when communicating? Can you still get at it?
It's important to also, when you talk about listening, what is listening and what is not listening. You know, if your wife says to you, well, you're not listening to me, and you regurgitate the last two sentences she said, were you necessarily listening? No, men, we're real good at doing that, aren't we? Well, see, I was listening. I caught the last two sentences, but that's not really listening. And so it's being attentive. It's giving them the time to talk about what's going on. And the problem comes in is, men, we put the way we think they should be thinking, and we try to impose that on them. But again, that's not how God designed them. When you are in a conflict with your spouse, do you feel unloved or disrespected? Men, 83% said disrespected. Women said 72% unloved. That's a huge difference, but you see the huge majority that starts letting you on a little insight of what men are looking for, what women are looking for, and you probably can look back at your own marriage and say, as a man, I've probably been rather unloving at times when we've gotten into disagreements with my wife. And women, you can probably say, I've probably been a few times disrespectful. And what does God have to say about that? It says even for all of those, even for those sins, that's why Jesus came. It's to take away those sins and not count them against you. Now, as you think about, think back to that anniversary dinner. You know, where do you want to go? Well, you decide, and you start getting into an argument. This is your anniversary, remember? This is supposed to be a happy occasion. And you start getting into it. What starts happening when he's getting frustrated because, well, you should have just told me the place you want to go, and she's thinking, well, you should have had this all planned out and know where I want to go. What starts getting added into that conversation? Okay, now these things have absolutely nothing to do with that conversation and where dinner's going to be, but now you start bringing in everything else that's going wrong. And what is your, in a sense, what is your goal as you bring those things in? I'm going to cause some harm here to make sure I put it on them and make sure they know it's their fault. And so as the husband, you do that. Well, what's your wife doing as you do that? Retaliating. You show her your unloving side, and she retaliates by being disrespectful. And you have something like this, called the crazy cycle. And you both are on it. It's not just men, well, she's on the crazy cycle. No, you're both on it. Because the more you show a lack of love for her, she's going to say, well, why should I respect him? And she's going to throw a right cross back, verbally or otherwise. And she's showing her disrespect. And he's going to say, well, look at how she's disrespecting me. And we get in this mentality that I'm going to not show her love until she respects me, because that will teach her. And she says, well, I'm going to withhold my respect until he loves me, and that'll teach him. And we're really working against ourselves, and we're thinking that this is a way to get through this and to win and to stick the other person with the blame of the matter, but all we do is keep on spinning on this thing, and it goes round and round and round, and we never get off of it. That's why we're here tonight, to see how we can get off this crazy cycle. Now, as you consider the person that is sitting next to you this evening, provided they're not working tonight. Remember that they're taking time on a Friday night to be here with you and to spend an hour here with you. And that really says something about the person that's sitting next to you. Let's think about that. What does that say about your spouse that they're willing to spend this time on a Friday, perfectly good, nice, beautiful Friday night? You're indoors here with me. What's that say about your spouse?
Taking care of nothing like that, making sure that they're taking care of the
Okay. See, we're drawing people together. Isn't that nice? That was all finally I accomplished my goal. It's to make everybody feel guilty tonight. Good.
I thought you were going to learn how to make better salad.
Subway guy was working, sorry. Does it say anything else about your spouse? That person cares enough to be here, to put some time and effort into managing and maintaining and feeding our marriage. Does it say anything else?
Shows the value of the marriage.
Okay. The person sitting next to me has good intentions about me, and sometimes I need to remember that. That this person sitting next to me, this person that I married, has good intentions for me and good intentions for our marriage together. And so when you start thinking about getting on that crazy cycle, what can you maybe assume when there's that conflict that starts entering into the marriage? What can you perhaps assume about the other person?
They don't want to be there any more than you want to be there.
Okay. I'm not happy, the old Jeff Foxworthy, she ain't happy, you ain't happy. Yes, that is true. But, I don't enjoy spending time in that cycle. And I'm assuming neither do you. What else does it tell you? Go ahead, Dave.
Well, somewhere, somehow, communication broke down.
Yeah.
You're not talking to each other as much as you have to. So all the frustration that happens the day, the week, the month, the year, all gets loose. So it's like the pin being pulled on the grenade. It's going off. And you don't want to be anywhere near when that thing explodes.
Yeah.
So I think the best thing, that's,
And nobody else wants to be around you either when that thing goes off.
I got so many scars. A lot of those exploding. No, I think it's important for us to understand that communication is the key. And when you fail to communicate, either through anger or through retaliation, bad things happen.
Yeah.
It's better to step away and say, what happened here? Did I miss something? Did you say something that I was supposed to get and I didn't get? I'm kind of dense, so help me out here. Let me know again what I did that you find distasteful. And that not only goes for the spouse, but also goes for children when you're talking to children. Because they get angry and they want to retaliate, and you have to sit down. My message has always been to my wife and my family, if we can communicate, we can solve almost any problem. But if we fail to communicate, we're not going to solve anything. We're just going to be screaming at each other.
Yep. Yep. Go ahead, Jim.
So a lot of times we also fail to communicate the good things we do, because we go out of and expect them, and kind of need to step back and appreciate those things you want to tell them. I really like to do this, or happy here, communicate.
Okay. Yeah. Familiarity breeds contempt, and so, of course you're going to do that because you always do that, and I sometimes fail to show my appreciation for that. And it's good to hear about the good things and not just, well, you did this wrong and you didn't do that right. Go ahead, John.
When we get into this crazy cycle, I mean, it's truly a selfish situation. You're more concerned about how you feel than the other person feels. And you retaliate, or you make a statement according to how you feel instead of considering how they feel.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. When you think about, if we've all admitted the person who's here with me has good intentions about me and has good intentions for my marriage, then maybe what I heard wasn't exactly what they meant. Remember the switches, and men are wired differently than women? Go ahead.
Looking at the crazy cycle, I think we can also look at it as another cycle. I don't know. I'll name it the love and respect cycle.
We'll get to that one. So hold that. You are skipping all the way to the end of the thing tonight. So if I don't get to it, I will come back to you. But yeah. Take a look at, if you think of Ephesians chapter 5. Those of you who know that God spends quite a bit of verses talking about the relationships of husband and wives, and how the relationship is really, in a marriage, the picture of Christ and the church. And we're so ingrained with husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. Wives, submit to your husbands. One we probably don't get to. I don't know if we get exhausted by the time we get through all those verses, but we don't ever quite get to verse 33, which is an important one. However, each one of you must love his wife as he loves himself, and the wife must respect her husband. How many times in that all long section do you suppose it tells husbands, love your wives? How many? At least. Over and over. Husbands, love your wives, love your wives, love your wives. How many times does he tell wives, love your husbands? 0. Why not? What they need is respect. Why else doesn't he tell wives, love your husbands? Because we said they need that. And sometimes it's not even if she's getting it. That's her natural thing, is to be loving and nurturing. And so she's already doing that. He said, that's the way you're wired. You're wired to love. But what do you need to remember? Respect, because that's not always in the nature of a wife to have that. And so he said, let's remember that. Husbands, love your wives because that's not your natural tendency. Wives, respect your husbands because that's not your natural tendency. And so he gives us that reminder. If you think of this concept, husbands, love your wives, and what kind of love is that? Agape love, that unconditional love. What kind of respect is that? Yeah, unconditional respect. Because think about that for a moment. If your husband offered you that and said, I will love you so long as you, where do you end up if you hear that? Yeah, it's conditional. It's the crazy cycle. It's, I'll show you love as soon as you show me respect. And I'll show you respect that's conditional. He says, no, it's to be unconditional, because let's face it, sometimes men, we do things that don't deserve any respect. Wives, you sometimes recognize your husband doesn't deserve your respect. But does he say love them or respect them when they deserve it? No, even when they don't deserve it. Show them respect.
That respect is a motivation thing, and it's like a biscuit to a dog. You know, I mean, if you're getting respect, you'll always want that respect, and you'll jump through hoops and do whatever for it.
I think the wives are going, yes, that's a good illustration for men, they're dogs. See, they're hearing something different than what you're saying. All right, so this is really kind of the key passage of this whole marriage seminar. Wives, respect your husbands. Husbands, love your wives. I promised you another cycle. Here's your, not the love and respect cycle, but it is the love and respect cycle, the energizing cycle. The same way that the crazy cycle works, going the wrong direction, feeding off one another. So, well, there's a different cycle to get you going the other way. Because, as a few people have said here already, when I feel respected, that's a whole lot easier for me to love. And when I feel loved, that's a whole lot easier for me to be respectful. And so again, you have that feeding off one another to make sure that this cycle is spinning in the right way. It means spending time to understand my wife needs me to love her and needs me to understand the way she wants to be loved, not in the way that I have conceived of in my mind, but she wants to be listened to. She wants to be treasured. She wants time with me. And husbands are saying, I need that respect also. And everybody else respects me. I go to work and everybody respects me. What does that say if I come home and you don't respect me? Well, you must really hate me. If everybody else from my job, from my church, from everybody else respects me, but you don't, you must really hate me. The same way the wife could make the same accusation. Everybody else says, what a great person I am and loves me, and yet you don't. So we want to get on this energizing cycle. And if you're going, okay, let's get some concrete examples of how do we show love, how do we show respect, you have to tune in for sessions 2 and 3, because that's where we'll get into that a little bit more. Next week, 6:30, session 2, giving your wife the love that she most desires. And also have a little handout for you. This is from a book by a guy named Dr. Emerson Eggerichs, and he wrote the book Love and Respect. It's an appendix, Personal Love and Respect Inventory for Husbands and Wives. It says, yes answers mean you need to pray for change and improvement. And there's questions here, but it's not your husband's going to question you or your wife's going to question you. You ask this of yourself. No answers mean that you are doing great. Thank God and keep it up. Perhaps or maybe our answers mean you are aware of a need for change. Keep trying. So regarding myself, as a wife, did I react disrespectfully because I felt unloved? As a husband, did I react unlovingly because I felt disrespected? You start going through these. So this is something to take with you and think about over the course of the week and see how you can put these things into practice. John used the phrase before, do you want me to actually do something here, or do you want me just to listen? That's a great thing to keep in mind. And you ask yourself, is what I'm saying to you being disrespectful? And if it is, then I'm sorry. If what I'm saying to you feels unloving, I'm sorry. Remember, the person has good intentions for you. That person is good-willed toward you. That person is taking time on a Friday night to be here to work on a marriage with you. And so give that person the benefit of the doubt that maybe what I heard from you isn't exactly what you meant. And so you keep those lines of communication open. Are there any questions? Any comments? Going once, twice. Now you have plenty of evening left that if you don't have little ones, you have time to get out and go on a date. You can talk about what you learned or heard tonight, and make sure everybody grabs a copy of this before you leave. Let's close with prayer. Gracious Lord, you bring husbands and wives together to be a blessing to one another. We thank you for making us complementary to one another, that you have made us just as you designed so that we can have good marriages together. Teach wives the benefit of being respectful to their husbands. Teach husbands what it means to love their wives as Christ loved the church. We know that as we confess our sins to one another, as we confess our faults to one another, we can get off the crazy cycle and on the energizing cycle, and we can keep our marriage spinning in the right direction. We ask you to bless us as we go our separate ways. In your name we pray. Amen. Have a blessed night. Enjoy your evening together. And those of you who don't have a home church, 9:30 here on Sunday.